of the show says it all. How to get a job in Seattle. And our expert guest is Paul Anderson of Prolango. He's a career consultant. Paul, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so we got to backtrack just a little bit before we get to talk about resumes, but we're going to backtrack. Northwestjobs.com, you write a column for that.
Yes.
And actually, you're all over the United States, and some things that I've seen you quoted in. But one big thing about it is on northwestjobs.com. What is it that you're trying to get across primarily?
So actually, Northwest Jobs is an amazing resource. It's actually a job search site, so it actually competes with, for example, Monster.com, but you're going to find all the local jobs. But they also wanted to add content as well. So there's 3 writers. There's Michelle Goodman that writes for workplace issues. So if you're employed, you should keep following that article, and it'll teach you, should I be dating my boss, and if so, how do I do that successfully?
Only if it gets you a better job, right? Or maybe that's not the advice you'd give.
And then you have Randy Woods and I writing the Higher Ground column. And Randy Woods typically focuses on networking events, what's going on around town, and then mine is about interviewing HR folks, interviewing best-selling authors, and then sharing job-seeking strategies, everything that can give you the edge so you can be more successful.
Okay, so here's some of the backtracking that we're going to do, or some of the review. So let's just go to it. There's tons of online job sites, but you're not having any success with jobs online. Why not?
Because there's too much competition, too many resumes. Second thing is how computers have started scoring resumes. That's just never happened before. Most people don't know that. So they're sending in their resume, but their resume is not ranking high enough for them to be noticed in the system.
So I can't even get to, a person doesn't look at my resume, instead it's a computer that looks at me first?
It's a computer, and if you don't score high in the computer, the human being is not going to see you. It's like Google searching. You're typically click on the first few results. You don't go page 15.
No.
You look at everybody on page 1. So how do you land on page 1? And the third thing is, a lot of job descriptions, Stan, there's bad job descriptions. Either the needs of the hiring manager are not articulated, or it's a template job description. So even if you customize your resume, even if you do all the right things, when the resume finally makes it to the hiring manager, he says, nope, this is not what I'm looking for, and you don't have that information.
So if we've got a templated job resume and a templated job description, we just got like templates going back and forth and no humans involved, but it's a human who's trying to get a job.
I mean, the hiring process is very expensive. If you look at companies spend, they said the cost of hiring could be up to twice the annual salary of the individual. The
No
whole
kidding.
hiring and firing them. So it's an expensive resource. Now add third-party recruiters on top of that. They can charge 15 to 35% commission on placing you. So it's an expensive. So you have an economic crisis, you also have the whole hiring crisis.
Yeah. Now, one thing I've always heard is that the vast majority of jobs comes in small business. Do small businesses take advantage of the kinds of things that you're talking about? Do small businesses have tracking systems?
You can get an applicant tracking system as low as $50, and it's a subscription. The program lives on the web. You subscribe just like Vimeo or YouTube. You sign up for an account, and then you basically put in all your job descriptions, and then it can start tracking that for you. If a small business owner, like maybe a mom and pop shop, they can use an Excel spreadsheet, get all the emails coming in from Outlook, pop in all those candidates into an Excel spreadsheet to track them. They might not have the fancy scoring system, but everybody tracks candidates somehow. You have to comply with the law, with the federal law in terms of hiring. The second thing is, how are you going to keep sane among all these resumes that are coming in?
Yeah, so if you're looking at a company that has 20,000 employees or that has 20 employees, still the principles that you're talking about are pretty much the same.
Mostly the same.
So while a lot of jobs come through small companies, this stat always, it just freaks me out. 85% of positions are recruited by word of mouth.
Yeah.
That's real?
Companies are basically looking to meet the real talent. Real talent might not be identified on paper, right? There's so many good people are just undiscovered. So what they're saying is, let me talk to Stan, let me talk to John, let me talk to Mary and see, Mary, who do you know? I'm looking for a really good executive admin. Who do you recommend? I mean, we do this with doctors, right? And we look for a good doctor, we look for a good carpenter, we look for someone that can come clean our home. It's no different than jobs, especially in Seattle.
And when you talk about recruiters, are you talking about the outside recruiters that will come in and they'll get 15 to 35%? Or are you talking about recruiters inside the company, or does it matter?
Both.
Wow. So I got to get to know the recruiters to be able to find a job?
You need to know the recruiters. Now, if you know the corporate recruiters, that's obviously better because those people are actually in the company. If you know third-party recruiters, they may not have the same pull they've had in the last couple of years, because what HR has done is they've physically removed that one-on-one relationship recruiters used to have with hiring managers. That was to increase competition, to reduce hiring fees.
Let's go and let's talk about the economic crisis
Okay.
instead. Economic crisis changed the world in so many different ways. Did it change with regard to job searching?
It did. Number one, you having anywhere from 300 to 1,600 applications being submitted locally. So you just have all that competition. But the scary thing is a lot of jobs we used to have are physically gone. They're either shipped overseas or they're eliminated altogether. So you have all these people that are maybe trained in a certain skill set that they don't get to use that anymore. I mean, I ran in, when I was at Expedia, I was part of the global sourcing program, which we were shipping over jobs over to India or China. Now, some of the ones we were doing, we weren't going to do them internally, but that used to be somebody's job over here locally that now has been given to someone overseas. So you have this whole, and the government has this program called the Trade Assistance Act, which is if your employer ends up shipping your job overseas, you might want to look into that. They physically have dollars to actually retrain you in a new career. But the scary thing is those employers are going to say, that's great, you've been trained in this new career, you have no experience in this new career. So we're retraining all these people, but that's still not helping them find jobs.
Well, but retraining programs are something that the federal government has paid for, the
Sure.
state government has paid for. It sounds like you're saying that they don't necessarily work.
Not all the time. I mean, one of the challenges I'm having right now with the Workforce Development Council, or when I work with WorkSource, is they're saying, Paul, we're paying these colleges all this money to train these people, but they're not necessarily helping them find jobs. So how do we solve that problem?
Well, yeah, but me as a taxpayer, I'm paying for that program, right? So how does that work, that I'm paying for a program that doesn't work?
I wish we had better job search training. I don't think everybody needs to be retrained. No, you have some, where there's nothing that person can do. But most people, if the job is shifted, if they had better job search strategies, they would find jobs much faster than sending them back to school.
Well, something else that you briefly touched on, and we've touched on in other shows, and it is how there's a huge increase in the number of applicants and number of resumes that the employer will receive.
Yes.
And yet, it seems that the rules for unemployment kind of encourage that activity. So how is this working?
And here's the scary thing. Most hiring managers will say 90% of applications I get for the openings are junk. Now, here's an interesting thing. You're this amazing Final Cut Studio guy. You send in a legitimate resume, but so does 200 other people send in resumes because they have to fill in their weekly job submission log. Your resume is buried among their resumes.
And so the whole question, in fact, mainly the point of this show is how to keep your resume from getting buried. And
That's
actually, we
right.
have a great graphic on that. Let's go to this graphic about a resume itself. Because when you really get down to it, you're just one of thousands. And so what you're trying to do is to stand out.
Yeah, and it's not thousands of the best talent. You're among one of thousands of just job seekers that are mass mailing their resumes to companies. And one thing we're going to talk about later is blacklisting. Those folks that are hurting you and I's chance of finding the legitimate opportunities by just pounding the systems, companies have found a way to eliminate them.
Yeah. Let's go back to that graphic, because I'm real proud of what I did here. You go to that graphic and it's got resume, and then it pops up and these all right, let's click one more. There we are. So we got all these red balls and you're trying to be the green square with a smile on your face. And again, in all seriousness, is it just that simple? If you package your resume so that it looks different than everybody else, is that going to get you attention?
No. Stan, resumes are the least effective method of finding a job today, especially in Seattle.
Well, wait a minute. Would you say that again? Resumes are...
The least effective method of finding a job today.
How does anybody know about me?
What you need to do is you need to make yourself as an individual known. You have to engage in what's called personal branding. Personal branding could be through your online activities like LinkedIn. It could be through public speaking. It could be through writing articles. It could be through personal networking. It could be through tapping into referral networks. But what you have to do is you have to make yourself as an individual known to the community.
Yeah, but wait a minute. All I want to do is I'm just a program manager. I want to sit and eat potato chips all day long at my computer and just write programs. Oh, that was a stereotype, and I know that doesn't exist anymore. But in all seriousness, if that's all I do, why do I need to go out and and network, why can't I just send in my resume and show all these great applications?
You don't have to. If you're okay with staying at home for 2 years and still looking for jobs, then you can sit at home. If you want to find a job and start feeding your family and really take control of your career destiny, you have to do something you've never had to do before, which is sales and marketing. I mean, it's amazing how much of what I teach in my seminars is I tell them, you're a great project manager, you're a great nurse, you're a great accountant, you're a great attorney. What you weren't trained on, and they all agree, is sales and marketing. You're having to learn that for the first time, and unfortunately, we're in that scenario. But guess what? If you learn that, your colleagues don't know those skills, you're going to stand out. You're going to become that green face.
All right, so let's say that I have skills.
I mean, let's go back for a second,
Yeah,
Stan.
okay.
They said the best products aren't necessarily what's out there in the market. In fact, most startups that have amazing products go out of business simply because not enough people know about them. And you have people that were the best marketers are the ones that are getting known. That is true with the job market. You could be this amazing talent and no one's going to know about you unless you make yourself known.
Wow, so this is huge information then. And it's not just about how good you are, but you have to take the next step and make sure that people know about you personally.
That's right. And you have to do it right. We talked about it.
Yeah.
You know, here's what a typical job seeker does. Hi, my name is Paul Anderson. You are?
Stan Emmer.
Hey, Stan, nice to meet you. I'm a project manager with 10 plus years of experience. I've worked at companies like Expedia and Microsoft, and I've worked on projects, you know, from $200,000 over to $2 million. Hey, do you know of any jobs that would be a good fit for me?
Well, you sound really interesting. Can I have a resume?
Yeah, here's my resume. Please
good,
contact
good.
me if you're
Yeah.
interested. And this is what people are doing, and that's exactly what's happening. They're going in and they're hitting on these people, and they're engaging in incorrect sales and marketing. So they're saying, Paul, you told me not to send my resume and start networking. Well, I'm networking. I'm still not seeing any results because you're doing it wrong. So part of what my philosophy is, how do I teach you the correct ways of building relationships, effective relationships, get in front of the right people as friends. Now that you're friends, get the true hiring needs of the hiring manager. Now then let's talk about your resume. Now let's put together an amazing resume that speaks to the exact needs of the hiring manager, and that's it. And that's the secret to success today.
Okay, you've talked about hiring managers. How do I know that I'm going to the right person? I mean, how do I even find who that person is? They won't call me back.
Very simple. Just start talking to the people at the company. Ask them, ask the recruiters, who's the hiring manager on this position? I'm curious. I'd like to find more information out. I mean, if you come across as non-threatening, people will tell you. It's not secret information that Bob is the hiring manager for this role and Susan's hiring for this other role.
Because really, if you are really good at what you do,
Yes.
then you are like selling a product, and you're doing a favor for the person.
Yeah,
if you bring
absolutely.
them
They
a good
want to
product.
fill. They want to. Some people say like they see HR as gatekeepers. No, HR wants you to get hired so they can go work on other activities. It's all about your approach.
We're going to take a short break. We're very fortunate to be learning how to get job skills, but it's not just job skills, it's how to market yourself. And this is hugely important information. The name of the show is How to Get a Job in Seattle. The person who has the information that you're going to want to know is Paul Anderson. Go to the website, prolango.com. Go to northwestjobs.com too. But when you go to Prolango, you're going to learn a lot more, so strongly encourage you to go to the website, learn more, and maybe you're going to want to participate in some things that are going to help you find a job. Okay. Let's talk about resumes. I got to go to this amazing statistic that you provided. Let's go to this resume graphic because I see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm thinking, okay, there's 7 steps to writing a good resume. That's what that means, right?
No.
What does it mean?
7 seconds is all your resume is going to get.
7 seconds?
So you do this amazing work of sending in your resume. It looks brilliant to the computer. Now a recruiter's going to look at it, and they're going to say, Stan, in 7 seconds, I either see what I'm looking for, or you end up in the no pile.
7 seconds is it?
7 seconds. That's all you're getting.
Whoa, okay. Well, so I'm looking at that stat, and then I see this article in U.S. News and World Report yesterday, or a couple of days ago, actually, is when this was, and the headline is "The Death of the One-Page Resume," and you're quoted in there. And throughout the entire article, there's lots of different things. It says, brevity still packs a punch, but career experts say this age-old rule of thumb has fallen out of favor. Here we are. Reading on to a second page now means scrolling down on a computer screen rather than actually turning a piece of paper. So now I'm completely confused. What should I do?
What you have to focus on, number one, when you're constructing your resume is you have to focus on the physical architecture. then content. If your architecture is incorrect, maybe you have things out of order, or the way you're presenting information is just not pleasant to the eye, or what you're trying to say isn't found right away, we're going to pass on your resume regardless of how brilliant you are as a person. So if someone says, Paul, I got this great content, why aren't they calling me? It's because your resume is not scannable in 7 seconds. So that's number one. The second thing is, now that you've fixed the structure, now we got to have some really good content in there. And you can't pack it in one page, because computers are looking for content. They're looking for, I'm looking for keywords, and I'm looking for frequency of keywords, because if you mention something several times, as we've talked about, I think you know that subject more. Someone that puts something on one page doesn't have enough room to optimize for keywords. So it looks great maybe in person, but the computer is the first person that scans it.
Wow. So then if I'm applying for a project manager's job, the thing for me to do is to make sure I have project manager in there a lot of times, and then for the naked eye, the human's eye, is to bold those two words. Is that it?
No, what you want to do is you want to have something what we like to call as core competencies. Your core competencies comes right after what's called a professional summary, and it's still on the top half page of your resume, which is all the recruiter sees in the first 7 seconds, and it's in a bullet format. Maybe it has like 3 or 4 rows, meaning you can put 8 pieces of information of maybe 1, 2, or 3 words max. So maybe you would put in, I know risk management, I know zero-based budgeting, I know Six Sigma, I know software development lifecycle. You're putting in these core areas of expertise. If you catch their attention, now they're going to go read within your resume, where did Stan or where did Bob physically execute on these skills. But unless you catch their attention with those right keywords and the right core competencies, and you have all this plop of information, they don't want to read through that. It's just too much work for them.
All right, well, let's get specific, and then we're going to be going through some specific things. So the next graphic, how to get a job in Seattle. Again, we've got your resume up, and let's go to the first click. You need to customize your resume to the employer's exact needs. I mean, isn't the employer telling you what he wants in the job description?
Some yes, most no.
Really? Then why do they put it out there?
We as hiring managers are not trained on how to write a good job description. In fact, some HR folks don't even know how to write a good job description. And so we'll put 2 people that are not trained well, or one's trained, the other one's not, you're going to end up coming up with a less than optimal, subpar job description.
Yeah, this is not a happy scene right here.
It's not. And let's say you even knew how to write a good job description, you tend to think about what's most top challenges that you're experiencing today when you're writing it out. You put it on the web. A couple of weeks pass by, you really figure out what you really were thinking of articulating, but you don't want to go back and re-update that job description because it's already on many, many job boards. It's already all over the internet. So you have these bad job descriptions.
Wow, so I'm the job seeker, and I look at this and I know this isn't really what you guys want. I'm going to tell you what you want. Is that what you do?
What you have to do is you actually have to help the employer, ask them some really good questions and help them tell you what they're looking for. And you can't do that if you submit a resume. That's why, Stan, I tell people, don't submit your resume. Try to get an introduction to the hiring manager first. If you can't get to the hiring manager, go for at least a recruiter, the HR person, someone that knows something about the role. If you can't, then you're left with, well, I got to send a resume, but then still do it right.
I see. So, okay, you see that there's a job deadline of, let's say, April 15th.
Yes.
And you've got it, and it's 2 weeks away. And so what you're going to do is you're going to do the absolute best you can to go in and try to find somebody inside the company and answer questions.
I am going to be fast. Here's what I'm going to teach my candidates. This is what I teach in my seminars. I'm going to tell them, get on the phone, call up the recruiter at that company. Do you know the person's name? Paul, I don't know. Okay, then go on LinkedIn, get a recruiter's name. I don't care who. Just grab a recruiter's name at that company, call up Sally, and say, Sally, are you working on this role? No, it's not me. It's Susan. Hang up the phone, call back, say, I'd like to talk to Susan. Okay, now that you have Susan on the phone, say, Susan, I have 2 quick questions. You got to be very careful how you say this. I have 2 quick questions. Is the role still open, and have you started interviewing? If they say the role's not open, they'll stop wasting your time. Obviously, it's a position they've posted, they forgot to take it down, move on to another opportunity. If they say it's still open, say, have you started interviewing? If they say yes, say, what's been the interview feedback so far? You'd be surprised how many times they'll say, we're getting all these great candidates that know Final Cut Studio, but we're looking for someone that also knows Photoshop. And you're wondering why they're not finding those people, because you go on the job description, Photoshop is nowhere to be found. Obviously, it's in their head. They think they know what they want, but they're not telling people what they want. So now you have the final details of, I need to focus on Final Cut Studio, but really also focus on Photoshop before I submit this application. That's what's going to get you hired.
Wow. Okay, let's go back to the graphic because we're going to go to the next thing that's on there. And after customizing it, all right, let's go to the next one. It says, optimize your resume based on different search algorithms in today's applicant tracking systems. Okay, so I've gone in and I've talked to the hiring manager, and I think, okay, now they need Photoshop. And so do I just put Photoshop, Photoshop, Photoshop all over my resume?
So we talked about the first algorithm the computer is going to scan for is the word Photoshop. That's the keyword. The second thing it's going to do is going to look at how many times that word was mentioned. So that's what's called frequency. That's the second thing. So because some people go for brevity and they say, I'm going to mention Photoshop, proven I have that skill. Not today. Today you have to mention it several times for the computer to give you a higher score, just a little bit higher score.
Is it really that simple? I just put the word in multiple times?
Multiple times.
Wow.
Then you got to look at the phrases. Final Cut Studio is 3 words. You can't just have the word Final Cut Studio, different parts. That has to appear as a phrase. That's the third algorithm. So you actually have to have the actual phrases and then repeat those phrases multiple times.
Wow. This is such amazing information.
This is almost like computer engineering for your resume.
Yeah, pretty much. And all I want to do is let's say that I just want to go and work on houses. And you know, there's or let's say not, instead of houses, I want to work on commercial construction. And I just happen to be a good carpenter, and it's not a union job.
Yes.
So I'm applying directly. Is this the kind of thing that I have to do too?
You do. And
how can people get all these?
Not every job is recruited online, by the way, right? Some jobs, as you said, are through unions, some are through third parties, some are through certain associations. But if you end up going to the company's website, please do these. Please incorporate these algorithms into your resume.
How can I learn what they are? I'm
telling you.
Okay, so there we are. So let's go back to the graphic then, and so we're going to go to something else. Okay. Here we are. Let's go to the graphic and earn high score in hiring management systems that will influence the recruiter to set up a phone screen. Okay, I just want a job. Why do I have to know this?
You don't. If you do know, here's an interesting thing. Stan, the reason I'm excited we're doing this show is most of my colleagues in the career coaching world, WorkSource, university career centers, they don't know this stuff either. In fact, they have me do train the trainer programs. Really? So I'm hoping they will learn this because they're helping all these people with resumes, and those people are still not finding jobs. Prolango has become famous simply because we can take someone that's been unemployed for a long time and shorten their transition time to helping people in less than 3 months. Some as early as few weeks, some as early as 3 months finding jobs. And people are saying, how are you doing it? Because what I've done is I've studied behind the scenes of HR, and I'm teaching that to my candidates. Most people aren't aware of these algorithms.
What's a hiring management system?
Hiring management system is a physical software application that scores your resume. What it does is it grabs the job description, it grabs the resume, it superimposes them on each other and says, how close are these together? The closer they are, give them a higher score. And we talked about for corporate 0 to 10. So if you can get a 10, you're probably going to rank on page number 1. If you get a 9 or an 8, you're still scoring pretty high, but there's a lot of 10s out there. Well, we want to focus on how to get a 10 out of 10.
Okay, and so then you get the phone interview. And this is what you're really trying to do, is to go past the hiring management system to where you get up high enough to get a phone interview.
That's right.
And what does the phone interview do for you today? I mean, I don't know this at all.
Yeah.
So I go to a phone interview, and that takes place of the real interview?
No. So today, I'm glad you're bringing that up. Today they have something called a phone screen, which makes the hiring decisions much more efficient. I mean, Virginia Mason said out of 300 or 400 applications, I'm probably going to call 90 of those folks, and I'm going to phone screen them, and I'm going to bring in 5 for an in-person interview, and I'm going to make 1 job offer. So just because you got a phone screen, get your hopes up, but not too much.
90 people
90
for
people
one job
90
on a
people,
phone screen?
90 people are for 1 job on a phone screen, but 5 are only going to get a chance for the audition. 5 people are going to get to come in for the in-person.
Do I have to say Photoshop a lot?
No. In this case is where you really need to focus on, I have a short period of time, Phone screens are anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and I really got to focus on what is this person looking for, so try to find out what those needs are. Show them you've done the research on the company, show them you know a lot about the job description, say, here's what I understand the top 3 things of what you said you're looking for. Are there other things that are not mentioned, and try to see if you can get some of that information and focus on selling yourself on how your experience matches what they said that they're looking for.
Well, here we've done it again. We only have 3 minutes left in the show, and I've got about an hour and a half worth of material. Oh well, we'll just have to catch it in another show. So let's go to the next graphic, though, and we'll just start and we'll go where we can. The next graphic is, okay, we're going to go to articulate results to impress the hiring manager. This is part of your resume. And this is when you've done all your other research and you're articulating results. And it may be on page 2 even of your resume.
Here's where my colleagues have it right. They actually teach something called PAR, which stands for Problem, Action, Result. And I'm glad they're teaching this, because today what a lot of people have on their resumes is called tasks. I executed on this task. I edited video. Big deal. But someone else could say there was this shortage of a timeline for this documentary video, and it was going to lose all funding, and due to my video editing skills, I was able to put the show back on track, therefore getting the grant that we needed, and we put the project becomes successful. That's what sells. You need to have results. Don't tell me what you did, what did you accomplish? Because that's, at the end of the day, I'm not buying someone that can change a light bulb. I'm buying someone that can design a set. I'm buying someone that can change the company, that can bring in more revenue, that can cost cuts, that can create employee engagement. So focus on what are they looking for and sell yourself. Keep selling.
Let's go back to the graphic, because we've got to get something else in here before our time runs out. All right, we've already gone through that one. Let's go to the next one. Negotiate a better role and/or a higher salary based on improvements to your resume's language structure. Whoa, I know we can't get this done in a minute, but we're going to try.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Did you know if you use a higher level language, you're perceived as someone that's more intelligent and therefore worthy of a higher initial salary offer?
No.
How I upgrade an administrative assistant to a project coordinator is by changing the language on her resume. That's all I do.
So instead of saying you did a good job, you say I was impressive? Is that it?
I mean, you'd be surprised. And the best way to do it, Stan, is go on LinkedIn and look at the positions you want. Look at the language they're using on their resume and compare yours, and you'd be surprised how much you realize, wow, they have a way better way of describing something that just sounds more intelligent. I need to start using those phrases.
This is such interesting stuff. I am glad that we have left just a little bit for another show. Actually, it continues and things change every single week, don't they?
I would say on at least a good quarterly basis, things are changing.
Wow. All right. With that, we're going to end the show today. You're going to want to learn how to get a job in Seattle by going to the website prolango.com, or just go out there to Northwest Jobs, learn more, make yourself more marketable, and you're going to get that job. So good luck. We'll see you right here next week on how to get a job in Seattle. Take care.